Number 10. Christopher Titus. The American comedian did not hold back when it came to criticizing Will Smith for the initial incident at the 2022 Oscars when he walked on stage and slapped Chris Rock for joking about his wife Jada. Titus took to the podcast Christopher Titus TV and openly spoke about his disdain for the actor. Quote, "Watching the arrogance of Will Smith that night, I think that Will Smith probably believes he can do anything. In fact, many comedians took particular issue with Chris Rock being attacked, arguing that they should not be afraid for their own safety on stage, just because they like to tell risky jokes." But Titus did not find Will's latest YouTube apology to be sincere either, and was among the many Twitter voices that condemned the video as fake and self-centered. Quote, "Will Smith has lost me again. Dude, Chris said he'll contact you when he's ready. Why are you pushing him? You attacked a man on a global broadcast. You don't get to pick the redemption schedule, and by doing it publicly, you made it about you again." So it seems like Titus doesn't think Will deserves a get out of jail free card just yet. Number 9. Morgan Tremaine. Known for his explosive testimony during the Johnny Depp vs. Amber Heard defamation trial, former TMZ journalist Morgan Tremaine garnered international praise for his infamous, quick-witted comeback to Heard's lawyer Elaine Bredhoft. But Tremaine once again was able to articulate what many people were thinking about the latest apology video from Will Smith. According to the producer, the video appeared more like a PR stunt than a genuine apology. Quote, "This Will Smith apology video has PR team written all over it. They're testing the waters to see how the general public feels about him. Nothing to do with Chris." There might be some truth to how Tremaine feels though, because apart from the obvious product placement, the apology also serves another purpose, as Will is now starting to make big moves in an effort to have a career comeback, which has suffered quite a bit due to him being cancelled. It's been revealed that Smith is planning to star in a sequel to one of his most iconic movies, I Am Legend. So it makes sense that what we are now seeing is the actor slowly trying to rebuild his reputation in Hollywood. Number 8. Chris Rock's brothers. Chris's brother Kenny Rock told the LA Times that he would like to see the Academy take back the Oscar that Will won that night. However, what gets to him most about the entire incident is that he has continued to watch it play out on TV over and over again, and there's nothing that he can do. Quote, "It eats at me watching it over and over again because you've seen a loved one being attacked and there's nothing you can do about it. My brother was no threat to him and you just had no respect for him in that moment. You just belittled him in front of millions of people that watched the show." Tony Rock, who was actually close with Will at one point, called out the actor during a comedy show. Quote, "If you think you're gonna walk up on this stage, this ain't the mother effing Oscars." He threatened to fight back if Will ever tried the same thing with him. In fact, the Oscar winner addressed Tony during his apology video. Quote, "I want to apologize to Chris's family, especially Tony Rock. You know, we had a great relationship. You know, Tony Rock was my man, and this is probably irreparable." That seems to be the case, as one Twitter user asked if the actor approved of Will's apology, and he simply responded by saying no. Number 7. The View. Smith received a hell of a lot of criticism for the slap itself, but a lot of people really seem to take issue with the video apology that he released a whole 4 months after the incident. The ladies on The View spoke about how disappointing it was to see Will Smith upload a 5-minute video addressing what is actually a really serious issue, considering it happened to Dave Chappelle too that same month. The hosts voiced their opinion about the Oscar slap and spoke about Will's apology video not long after it was released. While they unanimously agreed that it was a good first step, they said it simply wasn't enough to make good with Chris Rock. Alyssa Farah Griffin said, "I think he's got to go further, and even the fact that he didn't do this in more of an interview format where he might be challenged with some tough questions, I was a little surprised by." She then went on to say that it's a lot easier to say something scripted to camera than to ask, "What was your motivation? Why didn't you then apologize in your acceptance speech?" Alyssa feels Smith should have sat down with Oprah because then she would have challenged him. Joy Behar also agreed with her and thought he should have come on The View instead. But it's clear that they felt the video format of the apology made it much too easy for him to evade criticism. Number 6. Megyn Kelly. The veteran journalist believed that Smith made it all about himself at the Oscars when he walked on stage and slapped his longtime friend. Megyn Kelly was super critical of his actions that night and felt that the actor simply saw an opportunity to make himself appear as the tough guy standing up for his partner. She said that most guys would have handled it after the set and spoken to the comedian backstage. Then Kelly insisted that Smith used his 2 minutes on the world stage to defend his actions when he should have been apologizing immediately for how he acted. Quote, "It was a defense of him losing his temper. He should have got up there and he should have said, 'I'm very sorry for my bad behavior. I apologize to Chris, to the other nominees, and to the people whose attention I've wrongly dragged away from them on what would be their greatest night of their lives.'" Well, does she feel any differently now? Not really. In fact, she recently called out his newest post YouTube video on the Megyn Kelly show and reiterated her comments, this time suggesting that Smith is only sorry now because he has a new movie coming out, so he really needs that public forgiveness to ensure its success. Number 5. Jaden's tweet. The internet has been dunking on Jaden Smith since he was old enough to give interviews, but the 23-year-old really added a lot of fuel to the flame when he posted on social media backing his father for attacking Chris Rock. Right after the incident, Jaden came rushing to his father's defense, tweeting, "And that's how we do it," after the slap was broadcast all around the world. The rapper and actor also shared a photo of himself wearing sunglasses, looking dazed in the backseat of a car, with the caption, "My dad's speech made me cry." The photo got retweeted more than 42,000 times and was met with mostly negative responses from social media users, some alleging that the star was a hypocrite because earlier in the month he tweeted, "Praying for peace in the world." Some users mocked his tweet by using his own comments against him, saying that he should instead be talking about the political and economic state of the world right now, which was pretty hilarious, but it goes to show you how much the internet is really starting to turn against the Smiths, because Jaden was not able to support his dad without being roasted on Twitter. Although he might have been trying to help, he was really just making the hate train worse. Number 4. Still defending Jada. Viewers of the Oscars this year were left completely in shock when Will infamously walked up on stage and slapped Chris Rock across the face for making jokes about Jada. But what most people don't know is that the beef between the Smiths and Rock actually goes back several years, so the tension has always been there. Chris once took aim at Jada when he was hosting the 2016 Oscars because the couple had very publicly decided to boycott the event. At the time, their protest was due to the fact that no actors of color were nominated for the second year in a row. Chris said, quote, "Jada boycotting the Oscars is like me boycotting Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited." The comedian also took a dig at Will and spoke about the actor's performance in his movie Concussion, saying that it's not fair that Will was this good and didn't get nominated, then added it's also not fair that Will was paid $20 million for Wild Wild West. And while Smith does apologize in his new video, he still seems to reiterate the same point, that the reason he responded violently was because Rock's joke referenced the hair loss that Pinkett Smith suffered because of her alopecia. So many people just didn't believe that that was the reason that he had attacked Chris Rock. Number 3. The first slap. This is really bizarre, but after the slap incident at the Oscars, now another piece of information about Will has surfaced online. The old video started doing the rounds on social media, and fans were shocked to see that Will had slapped a reporter when he leaned in and tried to kiss the actor at the premiere of Men in Black 3 in Moscow in 2012. What happened exactly? Well, the actor was on the red carpet when the Ukrainian reporter approached him. Alleging that the reporter tried to kiss him on his mouth, Smith pushed him away before slapping him with the back of his hand. The reporter was a prankster named Vitalii Sediuk, who was asking for a hug but got slapped instead as he went too close to the actor. After the Oscars incident, Sediuk reacted by comparing the two moments with photos on Instagram. He captioned the post with, quote, "But Will Smith practiced on me first, only to perform his slap at the Oscars." Will later explained himself in an interview with David Letterman, who asked him why he beat up a guy who was trying to hug him. Quote, "I didn't beat up a guy," he says, "I'm your biggest fan, can I have a hug?" So I go in to give this joker a hug and he tries to lean in and kiss me. The old video started a fierce debate over whether or not Will is erratic and violent, or if other people would have reacted the same if they were in that situation. Number 2. Various controversies. This year seems to be the pinnacle of controversy for the Smiths, and the public have lost a lot of trust in them as a result. There's so much there, like when Jada admitted to dating Will while he was still married to his now ex-wife Sheree Zampino, the family's alleged ties to Scientology, or the fact that they were investigated by CPS. But what really tops this list is when musician August Alsina brought the Smiths' relationship into the spotlight in July 2020, when he revealed that he was romantically involved with Pinkett Smith and that Will knew about it the whole time and had even given them his blessing. Though Jada initially denied the claims, she eventually confessed to being in an entanglement with August when she and her husband were separated. Quote, "We decided we were going to separate for a period of time, and you go figure out how to make yourself happy, and I'll figure out how to make myself happy. Smith said during an appearance on Red Table Talk in July 2020. They both went on the talk show together, and in a heartbreaking episode, Jada told Will how she came to be romantically involved with August, and how he made her feel special because of what was lacking in their relationship at the time. The clip went viral online, and for a lot of fans, the illusion of their perfect marriage was shattered in an instant, and they didn't appreciate being misled all these years. And number 1, product placement. Fans have alleged that Will has used his apology video to Chris Rock as a way to advertise his own products. When the actor took to YouTube last week to discuss his high-profile falling out with Chris at the Oscars earlier this year, he opened up about the aftermath of the incident and apologized to the comic for his actions. Quote, "I've reached out to Chris and the message that came back is that he's not ready to talk, and when he is, he will reach out. There's no part of me that thinks that that's the optimal way to handle a feeling of disrespect or insults." It was a nice message, but it's not the only thing that people noticed. Fans spotted a bottle of water placed on the table beside him throughout the video, but it wasn't a bottle of water from any famous brand, it was Just Water, which is incidentally his son's company. People on Twitter claim that this was a clear example of self-promotion, rather than a real apology. One user wrote, "Will Smith advertising his own bottled water company during his apology video makes it entirely disingenuous." Or, "My favorite part of the Will Smith apology video was the tactical Just Water placement. Still gotta get that paper even when apologizing." But some people thought that the apology was genuine and that he needed to help out his son's company whenever he can. Safe to say that the not-so-subtle advertising didn't go down well with fans.
Coming in at number 10 on our list is Mia Farrow. Mia Farrow is an actress who was extremely outspoken about her reaction to the ill-fated Oscars night. After it happened, she took to Twitter to post, quote, "It was just a joke. Jokes are what Chris Rock does. Always has been edgy. This was a mild joke for him, and I love G.I. Jane. What I saw was one of Hollywood's most powerful movie stars stalking onto a stage to strike a comedian for an unfortunate joke about his gorgeous wife's shaved head. Anyone who is okay with that has probably never been hit by a powerful man. As we advise our kids, use your words." A lot of people in the comments to her post were duking it out, with some people equating alopecia to cancer, and others saying that Will Smith should be jailed for slapping Chris. My favorite reply was someone linking another tweet saying, quote, "It's actually not funny at all. Will Smith could have killed him with that slap. What if his hand had been full of bees and Chris Rock was allergic to bees and one of the bees stung Chris and nobody had an EpiPen? Not funny now, is it?" Next up is Howard Stern, who had a whole show planned before he decided to scrap it all and focus on the Oscars incident instead. Quote, "Well, I had a whole show planned, but I gotta throw that out because I want to vent about this Oscars thing that occurred. The blunt reporter certainly held nothing back and did in fact vent quite readily about the whole situation. Quote, "This is a sign of great mental illness when you can't control your impulse. Not only that, it was hardly an insulting joke. It wasn't even a good joke." It may be safe to say that Howard Stern wasn't too fond of Will Smith after the headline made the incident. He even compared Will to former US President Donald Trump. He also criticized the Academy's handling of the situation, including the lack of security taking action. While there have been mixed reports on whether or not Will Smith was asked to leave the ceremony following the slap, the star still went onto stage to collect his award for Best Actor mere moments later. Howard Stern was upset that no one seemed to care and even cheered for him once he won the award. Quote, "Will Smith harmed another human being, and you guys did nothing." Another celebrity who will definitely never work with Will Smith is Judd Apatow. Probably the most embarrassing set of tweets to come out of the whole Oscars slap situation were Judd Apatow's, which are since deleted. Although he was one of the first people to call out Will Smith for his behavior, something that he took it way too far. Judd wrote on Twitter, quote, "He could have killed him. That's pure out-of-control rage and aggression." After he received pushback for the tweet, the 40-year-old Virgin director elaborated his viewpoints on the SiriusXM pop culture spotlight. He admitted that he wasn't actually watching the Oscars when he took to Twitter, but was instead informed of the incident while on the phone with a friend. That being said, he did stick by his statements about Will Smith in other interviews. Quote, "As soon as that line is crossed, really anything can happen. That's what happened, but something else could have happened too." Judd also told Pop Culture Spotlight, quote, "I just think there certainly is a way of handling dissatisfaction. We should never tell people that the solution is to break that barrier and leap on the stage and commit an act of harm in front of people who are inspired by you." Coming in at number 7, Rosie O'Donnell. Not unlike Howard Stern's take, Rosie O'Donnell also had a problem with how the Academy Award organizers handled the situation. Clearly, Rosie was signing off to Team Chris Rock when she tweeted out, quote, "So upsetting on every level. Bravo to Chris Rock for not eviscerating Will Smith, which he could do any day of the week. He walked away." say, "Bravo from a sad display of toxic masculinity from a narcissistic madman. If only they would take it into the ring, then we could truly see who is eviscerating who." In addition to making it clear that she believed Chris Rock could demolish Smith in, I guess, a battle of comedic minds, Rosie also heavily criticized the Academy for their initial response to the entire situation. In a separate tweet written in response to a statement released by the organization about not condoning violence, she asked, quote, "Then why did you do nothing?" O'Donnell didn't stop there. She also spent quite a bit of time retweeting messages from her friends and other Twitter users that all condemn Will Smith's actions and praise Chris Rock for not acting in retaliation. Kathy Griffin is up next as someone who likely won't work with Will Smith based on how she reacted to the Oscars, having very clearly sided with Chris Rock in this situation. She tweeted out, quote, "Let me tell you something. It's a very bad practice to walk up on stage and physically harm a comedian. Now we all have to worry about who wants to be the next Will Smith in comedy clubs and theaters." It's perhaps extremely unsurprising that Griffin, who herself loves to push the boundaries of comedy, would side with Chris Rock in this situation and be more concerned about the safety of comedians after seeing Chris Rock get slapped over a joke. Given her own controversies of inciting violence against former President Donald Trump that landed her in trouble with the Secret Service, we weren't surprised to see that she got some pushback from her tweets about being kind to one another.
Number 5. Bill Maher. The comedian and television host made it pretty clear that he despises Will Smith on several occasions, most notably on one episode of his talk show Real Time with Bill Maher, which aired on April 1st. Bill reacted to the explosive outrage against the actor at the time. Quote, "To Will Smith, stay strong and I got your back," before following it up with, "April Fools, you're a D." Maher went on to say that he couldn't feel sorry for Pinkett Smith because according to him, comparing a woman to Demi Moore looking her hottest is not exactly the worst insult he's ever heard. Then he made a pretty controversial comparison. Quote, "I mean, alopecia is not leukemia." And no, he has not changed his opinion since. In fact, in another episode, Bill did a revived edition of Explaining Jokes to Idiots where he made fun of cancel culture, the increased attacks against comedians, and called Will Smith humor impaired. He then said that it comes down to doing crowd work while hosting the Oscars. Celebrities should try to be a good sport and allow themselves to be made fun of for 1 minute. The politically incorrect alum even noted that Chris Rock's joke was initially received as funny by the audience, including Will Smith, who was initially spotted laughing before he decided to do anything else. Number 4. Wanda Sykes. She co-hosted this year's Oscars along with Amy Schumer and Regina Hall. So comedian Wanda Sykes really saw everything unfold firsthand on Hollywood's Night of Nights, and she had a lot to say about it. Right after the Oscars, she addressed Will Smith's actions. Quote, "For them to let him stay in that room and enjoy the rest of the show and accept his award, I was like, how gross is this? This is just the wrong message," before joking that she wanted to be able to run out after he won and say, "Unfortunately, Will couldn't be here tonight." And while performing a stand-up comedy show in Orlando, she brought it up again, saying, "I'm still traumatized. I couldn't believe he was still sitting there. Shouldn't you be sitting there with a lawyer or LAPD?" She added that he hopes he gets his life together, but until then, F him. Wanda clearly hasn't changed her opinion of Smith. In fact, while appearing as a guest on a recent episode of Live with Kelly and Ryan, they asked her if she'd be open to hosting the Oscars again. And she just said, "Oh, hell no." To be fair, she did happen to co-host the most dramatic Academy Awards ceremony in recent history, as she recalled the incident again. Quote, "So everybody's just gonna sit here? I was like, the show just kept going on, and I looked behind the curtain and he's still sitting here. What is happening? What is going on? It was crazy. It was just bizarre." Number 3. Sharon Osbourne. In an April interview with the Sunday Times, the former talk co-host expressed her opinion on the Oscar incident. Osbourne made the comparison when explaining the hypocrisy she sees where some people are too scared to make judgments to a person's face about their behavior, but will do so behind a computer screen or behind their back, and use the recent Oscars incident between Will Smith and Chris Rock as an example. Quote, "When he wins Best Actor award, everybody stands up. It's like, you're such hypocrites. You're going to go home and say how disgraceful his behavior was, but you stand up and give him a standing ovation." But most controversially, she then went on to compare Will Smith to Hitler, insinuating that no matter how horrible someone is, the industry will still try and find a way to make money off of them. Although her experience isn't exactly like Will Smith's, Sharon Osbourne dealt with plenty of criticism of her own, following her comments on the talk over the Piers Morgan and Meghan Markle feud. After a heated discussion with her and the talk show co-host last year, she was fired from the show by CBS, so she's no stranger to backlash herself, but clearly she didn't mind comparing Will Smith to possibly the worst person who ever existed. Number 2. Rosie O'Donnell. The comedian actually compared Will Smith to former President Trump, blasting the the Oscar winner as a narcissistic madman who isn't being held accountable for slapping Chris Rock during the Oscars. O'Donnell took to Twitter to condemn Smith for the stunning confrontation at the 94th Annual Academy Awards. She wrote to her more than 1 million Twitter followers, quote, "We watched him do it. Then, like the Trump years, we don't hold anyone accountable. Shame on us, shame on Will." O'Donnell made it very clear that she believes that the Oscars had failed everyone by not publicly denouncing Will right after the incident occurred and still allowing him to accept his award. But comedians do tend to stand together on this issue, and she went on to praise Chris Rock for his composure after he was attacked on stage. Quote, "So upsetting on every level. Bravo to Chris Rock for not eviscerating Will Smith, which he could do any day of the week. He walked away from a sad display of toxic masculinity." Those words sound pretty harsh, but it's very clear that she absolutely hates Smith for his erratic behavior that night, and the message it sends to other comedians. And coming in at number 1, Chris Rock himself. The comedian has not publicly commented directly on the slap, including in the wake of Smith's recent video apology, which was directly addressed to him. Instead, Chris Rock chose to use comedy to speak about the incident. During his apology video, the actor insisted that he's reached out to Chris, and the message that came back is that he's not ready to talk, which couldn't be more apparent. He first brought it up during a stand-up set at London's Royal Albert Hall. Quote, "I'm okay. If anybody's wondering, got most of my hearing back." He followed that up with, "Don't expect me to talk about the BS. Your tickets were expensive, but not that expensive." Rock also referenced the incident when Dave Chappelle was attacked on stage near the end of his performance during the Netflix Is a Joke festival. When talking about the assailant, the comedian said, "I thought that was Will Smith." After the recent apology was posted, Rock continued to make jokes while on stage in Atlanta. Quote, "If everybody claims to be a victim, then nobody will hear the real victims. Even me getting smacked by Suge Smith, I went to work the next day. I got kids." He also added that anyone who says words hurt has never been punched in the face. Gotta love his take on that. Number 10, his silence. Before Will's apology was posted on YouTube, fans thought it seemed kind of strange that the internet hasn't really heard anything from the actor in the 4 months since the incident took place. He did post on Instagram shortly after the Oscars night and said that violence in all of its forms is poisonous and destructive. Quote, "My behavior at last night's Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable." He went on to say that jokes at his own expense are a part of the job, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for him to bear, and he reacted emotionally. He also admitted that slapping his longtime friend and comedian was way out of line and simply wrong. Although the apology seemed genuine at the time, not much has changed since then, and it seems like he's still trying to justify his actions in the post, when it was supposed to be an actual apology to Chris Rock. So not only was the timing off, but a lot of people are wondering what the second apology was for, if he was just going to stand by the argument he made in the first one. But to be fair, in the video, Will said he didn't immediately apologize to Rock in his Oscars acceptance speech, because by that point he was fogged out and said everything was fuzzy. Number 9, Chris Rock's mother. If the internet wasn't fully convinced that Smith was in the wrong, they sure were when Chris Rock's mom opened up about how the incident broke her heart. Rosalie, who goes by Rose Rock, told her local news station about what she did when she saw the moment on live TV. Rose thought that the slap was staged until Will started using obscenities. Quote, "When he slapped Chris, he slapped all of us, because when you hurt my child, you hurt me." His mother also said that she would usually attend the Academy Awards ceremony with her son. However, this year she decided to stay home. During her interview with WIS-TV, Rosalie also reacted to Smith's speech for Best Actor and said that no one had even heard his speech because no one was able to be in the moment, as everyone was just sitting there and stunned. As for whether or not she accepted Smith's apology to Chris, his mother said what was on everyone's mind. Quote, "I feel really bad that he never apologized. I mean, his people wrote up a piece saying I apologized to Chris Rock. But you see something like that is personal, you reach out," which is exactly why the internet is not jumping to forgive him no matter how much time has passed. Number 8, evaded criticism. Among all of the criticism that the actor has received, one that really seemed to stand out is people being upset with the format of the video apology. The ladies on The View really hit the nail on the head when they spoke about how disappointing it was to see Will Smith upload a 5-minute video addressing what is actually a really big issue, considering that it happened to Dave Chappelle too that same month. The hosts voiced their opinion about the Oscars slap and spoke about Smith's apology video not long after it had been released. While they unanimously agreed that it was a good first step, they still think that he needs to do more. Alyssa Farah Griffin summed it all up. Quote, "I think he's got to go further, and even the fact that he didn't do this in more of an interview format where he might get challenged with some tough questions, I was a little surprised by." She then went on to say that it's a lot easier to say something scripted to camera than to ask, "What was your motivation? Why didn't you then apologize in your acceptance speech?" Alyssa feels Smith should have sat down with Oprah because she would have challenged him. Joy Behar also agreed with her and thought that he should have come on The View instead. Number 7. Cancelled. It's no secret that several of Smith's projects have either been cancelled altogether or shelved in the fallout from the Oscars incident, and that's why people are quick to assume that he's only apologizing for damage control. His career really took a hit. For instance, Apple has already delayed the release of his film Emancipation to 2023, and Netflix has stepped away from Fast and Loose, a drama which was supposed to star Smith, and canned the sequel to his 2017 action film Bright. Sony has also reportedly paused production on Bad Boys 4, and This Joker has been cancelled as well, which was a stand-up comedy show hosted and executively produced by Smith. The series featured a raft of stand-ups including Punky Johnson and Chris Estrada, so it's no surprise that fans and even fellow celebrities believe his apology video is just another strategy to combat the wave of cancellations. For instance, American comedian Christopher Titus was among the many Twitter voices that condemned the apology as insincere and self-centered. Quote, "Chris said he'll contact you when he's ready. Why are you pushing him? You attacked a man on global broadcast. You don't get to pick the redemption schedule. And by doing it publicly, you made it about you again." Wow. Number 6. Comeback. Will is now making big moves in an effort to have something of a career comeback, which has suffered quite a bit due to him being cancelled. It's been revealed that Smith is planning to star in a sequel to one of his most iconic movies, I Am Legend. Speaking to The Sun, an industry insider revealed that Smith has been in talks to reprise his role in the 2007 original film, which was a complete box office hit, making almost $600 million. The script is still being written at the moment, and sources close to the project revealed that the concept is still to be signed off by Warner Brothers, but there has been no indication that Will has been kicked off. The insider added, quote, "The reality is that will make a comeback at some point, and it will simply be down to which studio will be the one to take a chance on him," and added that Warner Brothers Studios have not ruled out Smith returning to the movie franchise at all. So that's where his apology comes into play. A lot of people like Morgan Freeman see it as a PR move and a way for the actor to slowly start rebuilding his reputation in Hollywood. Quote, "This Will Smith apology video has a PR team written all over it. They're testing the waters to see how the general public feels about him. Nothing to do with Chris." Gotta love that from Morgan Freeman.
Next up is comedian Jim Carrey. It's unlikely any comedian in general will side with Will Smith considering the precedents it sets. But while touring for Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Jim Carrey was asked about his reaction to Will Smith getting on stage and hitting Chris. The comedian had this to say. Quote, "I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless en masse. And it really felt like this is a real clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore. I'd have announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous. That insult is going to last a very long time. If you want to yell from the audience or disapprove or show disapproval or say something on Twitter or whatever, you do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words." Next up is Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill. He has always been extremely outspoken on Twitter, and the Oscar slap incident was no exception. The night of the incident, he tweeted, quote, "Stand-up comics are very adept at handling hecklers. Physical harm, not so much." Okay, I abbreviated this because I'm not allowed to say a lot of words due to our feudal lords at YouTube, but you get the idea. The tweet left a heated debate in the comments, with one user writing, quote, "Chris Rock was wrong. Mocking Jada's medical condition, especially on stage in front of hundreds of people, is despicable. I don't blame Will for getting upset or for doing what he did." While another user wrote, quote, "You can't just harm people. Even if someone says something Part of being an adult is understanding that you can't just hit people. I like Will Smith and I have compassion for his wife, but he was wrong to hit Chris Rock. Coming in at number 3 is Janet Hubert. Janet Hubert has had beef with Will Smith that predates the Oscars, thank God, all the way back to the 90s when she worked alongside him in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. She played Aunt Viv for 3 seasons before their beef led to her being replaced in 1993. She told HuffPost decades later, quote, "My departure was planned for a long time. There will never be a reunion for The Fresh Prince. Will Smith and Alfonso destroyed a 20-year career with untruths. I got slammed. Will apologized later in an Essence magazine article, but it still lingers. It's still there." Apparently, the beef started when Smith refused to vouch for Hubert when she wanted a pay raise and a contract renegotiation. Meanwhile, tons of rumors circulated that she was notoriously extremely difficult to work with, which derailed her career and she never really recovered from it. That being said, they did have a tentative truce when Will invited her onto the Fresh Prince reunion that she earlier said would never happen. Although I doubt she'd go through filming anything with him again. Next up is Chris Rock's brother, Tony Rock. Absolutely no surprise that he comes to his siblings' defense. Airing his frustrations on a stand-up set a few days after the Oscar slap incident, Tony stated, quote, "If you think you're gonna walk up on this stage, this ain't the Oscars. And if you walk your ass up here, you ain't nominated for but these hands." As the crowd cheered, Tony took it a step further, adding, quote, "I didn't want to start the show like that. You're gonna hit my brother." Tony also made it clear on Twitter after Will Smith apologized to Chris that he does not accept the apology on his brother's behalf by stating, quote, "No," when asked if he forgave him. Last but certainly not least is Chris Rock, who was the recipient of the slap in question. Interestingly, he said absolutely nothing about the slap and has kept extremely quiet. He's currently on tour and has made zero mention of the incident, although I'm sure he could have gotten away with a few digs considering that most people took his side. But that being said, I doubt he'd be running to star alongside Will Smith in any comedy anytime soon. Coming at number 10 today, we have the Oscars. The incident that occurred between Chris Rock and Will Smith has become known as the Slapgate that took place during the 94th Academy Awards on March 27, 2022. And it has become a moment that has gone down in history as a night full of mementos, wins, and controversy in equal measure. While the night was supposed to be filled with glamour and applause, the prestigious awards ceremony was plunged into chaos when a Hollywood actor decided to take the stage and smack comedian Chris Rock following a joke Chris made about Will's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, and her balding head. Despite initially laughing at Rock's joke, Will Smith would then shock attendees and viewers alike when he walked onto the stage at the Oscars and displayed a baffling incident that even had Chris Rock say, "Wow, Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me," to which Smith would then respond from his seat by shouting, "Keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth," twice at the comedian. Shortly after the incident came, Smith was then announced as the winner of the 2022 Best Actor Award for his lead role in King Richard. Upon receiving the award, which was his first ever Oscar win, Smith would apologize to the Academy and the fellow nominees for his reaction, but he did not apologize to Rock till later. Number 9. Jada Pinkett Smith. It seems like Jada Pinkett Smith just can't stop embarrassing her husband, Will Smith, and while the actress continues to do everything she can to ruin her husband's image, all of us are left to question what type of game she's playing, from her stating that she wished her and her husband were swingers, forcing Will to be on Instagram live videos, talking about her and Will's intimacy issues, mocking a party Will threw, and talking about her feelings for Tupac, letting the world know about her relationship with another man, and even bringing Will on the Red Table Talk podcast to address the relationship. And not to mention, after the infamous Oscar incident, she even declared that her mom forced her to get married to Will and that she never wanted to do it. Seems like Jada just wants to humiliate Will, and it makes us question why she's doing it and why Will is still with her. While it seems all of Will's drama revolves around his wife, if he wants to get his foot back into Hollywood at some point, he really needs to make the tough decision and split from her, because his career is just in this downward spiral due to her odd actions. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming number 8, we have Margot Robbie. In November 2013, Will was rumored to be hooking up with Margot Robbie on set of their film focus after photos were leaked of the pair joking around and fake flashing the camera in a photo booth. While the rumors were quickly put to rest after a source told E! News that Robbie and Smith were absolutely just friends, that's all. The picture that Will and Margot took were commissioned by the production, and the entire cast and crew saw them taken. While the rumors continued to circulate in the years to follow, Margot even seemed to hint at the rumors of her and Smith and set the record straight about her dating life when she revealed that she had sworn off dating fellow actors and preferred dating someone who wasn't known in Hollywood. But did she just swear off dating fellow actors because she had an affair and really wanted Will to be with her instead of Jada? However, it's pretty disappointing that goofing around on set can be taken so out of context to the point Hollywood tried to damage Will Smith's perfect guy image. Number 7. Resignation from the Academy. When Will Smith announced in a statement that he would be resigning from the Academy after his infamous incident with Chris Rock, this wouldn't make his troubles go away. While Will's resignation did come with an apology, it wouldn't stop the Academy's investigation of his conduct. While Rock would go on not to press charges against Will, he would start a lawsuit against Smith, the showrunners, and the security in control of the event for not ensuring the environment was safe. While many Oscar guests are still troubled by the standing ovation Will received after his tearful acceptance speech for his role in King Richard, the resignation could hurt his future in Hollywood. While it doesn't mean that he won't be able to be invited to future award ceremonies or that he can't be nominated for future awards, he will no longer be a voting member of the Academy, which could pose a problem in the future with the actor. Number 6. Will versus Aunt Viv. Do you remember Aunt Viv from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and how she mysteriously vanished from the show at the end of season 3 in 1993? Well, in an interview with Atlanta radio station in 1993, Will Smith would publicly go after Janet Hubert and say, "I can't say straight up that Janet Hubert wanted the show to be Aunt Viv of Bel-Air because I know she is going to dog me in the press. She's basically gone from $250,000 a year to nothing. She's mad now, but she's been mad all along." She said once, "I've been in the business for 10 years and this snotty-nosed punk comes along and gets a show. No matter what to her, I'm just an antichrist." However, later Janet would then criticize the show and express her dislikes for Will in interviews as their public feud played out. She even swore that she would never appear in a reunion episode, and according to TMZ, she said, "As I will never have done anything with an a-hole like Will Smith. He's an egomaniac and he has not grown up. This consistent reunion thing will never happen in my lifetime unless there is an apology," which he doesn't know the word. Number 5. The entanglement. When musician August Alsina brought the Smiths' relationship into the spotlight back in July of 2020, he would reveal that he had been romantically involved with Jada Pinkett Smith, and then August claimed that Will Smith knew about the relationship and even gave the two his blessing. The whole situation would just be really weird because at first Jada tried to deny August's claims and that they were even in a relationship, and then she did this whole 180 thing and eventually confessed to being in an entanglement with August, and then claimed that it was because of her and Will had separated that she decided to go separate ways for a period of time and figure out what she was doing, and she even told Will how to figure out how to make himself happy so she could figure out how to make herself happy. And while Jada originally decided she wasn't going to talk about the issue, she then forced Will onto her Red Table Talk show so they could discuss their marriage and relationship, and she would explain what she did and why she did it, and Will just had to sit there and accept what he was being told. And even during the show, Jada said she really felt like their marriage was over, and that's why she did what she did. Number 4. The Scientology issue. While neither Will Smith or Jada Pinkett Smith have ever confirmed their religious affiliation with the Church of Scientology, the Smith family has long been rumored to be members of the controversial church. Back in May of 2011, the Men's Vogue magazine, Will would say, "I've studied Buddhism and Hinduism, and I've studied Scientology through Tom Cruise, and nobody is saying anything different." His comments would then go on to earn him a great deal of backlash, especially when he claimed that 98% of the Scientology principles were identical to the Bible. And in October 2018, however, the Bad Boy star would then declare during an appearance on his wife's Red Table Talk show alongside of Jada that his family has never been Scientologists, but there's just so much proof to prove otherwise. Number 3. Scientology School for Kids. In July of 2020, the Daily Beast would publish an interview with Lee Ramini, the ex-Scientologist turned whistleblower who alleged that Jada was a devoted practitioner of Scientology. In the interview, she would say, "I know Jada's in. She's been in Scientology a long time. I never saw Will Smith there, but I saw Jada at the Celebrity Center." She would then reveal that Jada and Will even opened up a Scientology school and have since closed it, but Lee also confirmed that she saw Jada at the center all the time. The Daily Beast would then speak to 4 former teachers and administrators at the New Village Leadership Academy who would insist that the Scientology not only bled into every aspect of the school, but that it was essentially a Scientology school filled with mostly Scientologist teachers that taught students Scientology methods of learning. And apparently the academy began as a homeschool in one of the Smiths' unused residence in Indian Hills, California. It was also said that Will and Jada gathered 20 to 30 kids, including their own kids Jaden and Willow, in their homes. And Will and Jada were also pictured speaking inside the school and at events. Number 2, boycotting fans. If you're one of those fans who doesn't feel quite ready to see Smith headline another movie, the actor says he respects your wishes. During the promotional lead up to the film Emancipation, which many expected to be an Oscar contender, however it was probably shut out because of Will's poor behavior at the last Oscars, Smith was asked about how he would respond to fans, and Will would go on to express nothing but respect to those who haven't yet forgiven him for slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars, by saying, "I completely understand if somebody is not ready. I would absolutely respect that and allow them their space to not be ready," which honestly seems pretty fair for him to answer that, as we've all been getting a lot from this controversial star. While Will has expressed regret for what happened and concern for how his actions will impact his colleagues, it seems like the boycotting fans have taken a huge toll on his acting career, as he has now had films snubbed from the Academy Awards this year, and also many shows and movies have been cancelled over the last year, and he hasn't really been able to book any work, as producers are scared that having him in a movie could result in negative impact, and no one really wants to deal with that situation as of right now. And it's pretty sad because Will Smith, in my opinion, is one of the best actors Hollywood has, and no one can play a lot of these roles better than he can. And coming in number 1 today, we have his open marriage. During an interview with GQ in September of 2021, Will Smith would reveal that he and his wife haven't always been in a monogamous relationship, and that Jada never believed in a conventional marriage. He would then also say Jada had family members that had an unconventional relationship, so she grew up in a way that was different than how he grew up, and he used this to try to justify their open relationship, which is a very controversial topic in Hollywood still to this day. He would then later hint that both parties have taken advantage of the trust and freedom in their relationship, when he would say, "There were significant endless discussions about what is relational perfection, and a large part of the relationship monogamy was what we chose to not thinking monogamy as the only relational perfection. But does a healthy relationship mean you accommodate your wife's weird idea what a perfect relationship is?"
Let's get into the celebrities who tried to warn us about Will Smith. So first up, we got Chris Rock. Unless you are living under a rock, you know that Will Smith showed a completely different side of himself to the world at last night's Oscars. While comedian Chris Rock was speaking to the crowd and taking some digs at all the celebrities in the audience, Rock decided to take a jab at Jada Pinkett Smith, and I'm very sure he regrets it right now. Chris said, quote, "Jada, love you, G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it," referencing her almost bald head, because in the movie G.I. Jane, the lead actress Demi Moore has shaved her head. Jada has been open about her struggle with alopecia, and she was likely forced to wear her hair this way because she's not able to grow hair completely. Immediately after this joke, Will Smith decided to get up, interrupt the live broadcast, and slap Chris Rock right in the face for millions to see. Chris looked stunned and was not sure exactly how to respond. Will walked back to his seat, then yelled, quote, "Shut your mouth, keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth," twice. After this slap, Chris Rock looked completely stunned, having no idea what to do or say. It looked like he was about to clap back and say another harsh joke about Will or his family, but Rock took the high road and decided to stay calm. The internet was set ablaze by this slap, with many not even sure if it was real or just staged for publicity. But considering what we've seen in the aftermath, it was 100% real. Although many pointed out that Will actually laughed at the joke moments before deciding to get up and slap Chris Rock. Many fans of Smith's have tried to defend his actions, but the overall consensus is that it's never okay to put hands on someone or work out issues with violence, which I completely agree with. Also, we have no idea if Chris Rock even knew that Jada Pinkett and Smith had alopecia, it could have just been a big misunderstanding. Next up, William Hendricks. After Will Smith slapped Chris Rock on stage, another one of his attacks was resurfaced. Because this was not the first time that Will lost his temper, and his nice guy persona was called into question. In 1989, Smith spent a night in jail after he hurt a man named William Hendricks so badly that Hendricks almost lost his sight. Smith even spent a night in jail because of this incident and has a mugshot because of it. I'm not sure exactly why it happened, but Hendricks was a producer who we can assume worked with Smith. Even more coincidental, this incident happened days after Will won his first Grammy. I guess he likes to get into altercations around awards season. The charges were later dropped against Will. Will Smith was 20 years old at the time, and after getting in a verbal argument with his producer, he decided to make things physical. As per the police report, Smith asked his bodyguard, Charles Alston, to quote, attack William Hendricks, who needed 6 stitches after he fractured his left eye orbit during the altercation. Next up, August Alsina. After the smack heard around the world, old reports that Jada had cheated on Will in the past resurfaced. The pair have spoken about how they are in an open marriage, so we're not sure if it was really cheating or not, but Jada admitted she was in an entanglement with rapper August Alsina during a break with her husband. When Will and Jada talked about it on Red Table Talk, Will looked visibly distressed, and the general consensus is that Will wants a monogamous relationship, but Jada wants to be open and see other people. In 2020, August exposed the secret that he'd had a long-time affair with Jada while she was married to Smith. Initially, the Smiths denied this, but later admitted that it started when the pair split up briefly. Alsina had been introduced to Jada by her son Jaden at a London music festival in 2015. Insiders stated that August became like a member of their family, even going on vacations with them and staying in their mansion. August is 21 years younger than Jada, and he claimed that Smith actually gave his blessing to have an affair with his wife, an allegation that Jada then denied. Will also reported that he had affairs with other women during this time. At one point, he was rumored to have slept with co-star Margot Robbie. Many believe Will's insane reaction to the joke is proof that he is in a toxic relationship with his wife, because he completely embarrassed himself on most likely the biggest night of his life, all because of a bad joke. Many also claim that Will would have rather smacked August, but instead Chris Rock got the brunt of his anger. Vitalii Sediuk. Little known fact is that this is not the first time that Will Smith has smacked a man in public at an award show event. Vitalii Sediuk interviewed Will on a red carpet almost a decade ago, and after they had a negative interaction, Will smacked him in the face as well. While being interviewed, the pair hugged when Sediuk went to kiss Will on the cheek. Will Smith freaked out, then backhanded him on the face. Although many felt this move was justified at the time, it shows that Smith's first reaction in a negative situation is violence. The incident took place at the Moscow opening of Men in Black 3 in May of 2012 while Sediuk was working for a Ukrainian television station. After the incident with Chris Rock, Sediuk stated, quote, I just immediately recollected the slapping incident in Moscow. I think the joke was inappropriate when it comes to someone's health, but Will's reaction is unnecessary and sends the wrong message to comedians being hit for a joke. Adding, quote, I don't want to call Will Smith uncontrollable, he has a violent temper, yes, but I'm sure he realizes what he's doing. The reporter acknowledged that it was a bad joke, and he understands that Will was protecting his family, however it shows that violence is always Will's first instinct. Scientology. After the Chris Rock incident, some started connecting the dots between the bizarre slap and Scientology. This is because the Smiths have been tied to Scientology in the past, and physical punishment is a popular teaching in the church. Apparently it's a common teaching in Scientology to use slaps and other forms of physical force to show other Scientologists that they've done something wrong. After the slap, one user tweeted, quote, there's a Scientology course, I guess you'd call it, that involves slapping / physically humiliating fellow Scientologists in a group setting as a means of exerting superiority. It's remarkably common within the cult. The user even shared that Tom Cruise is known to use similar styles of punishment, but instead of hitting, he uses shouting to intimidate movie crews. This makes a ton of sense after what we saw happen on the set of one of Cruise's movies when he felt the COVID protocols were not taken seriously by his staff. Leaked audio heard him screaming at the top of his lungs at his staff, clearly sending a strong message. The Smiths have spent many years battling off accusations that they are involved in Scientology. The couple was apparently introduced to the church in 2004 by Tom Cruise, and they got so involved that the Smith family spent almost $1 million in 2008 to set up a school for the church. The Smiths said they designed the curriculum for the school, but insiders claimed it was based on Scientology. Both Jaden and Willow attended, but the school closed 6 years later when most of the parents removed their children. Tony Ortega, an expert on Scientology, said that the Smiths left Scientology in 2015 and that Will at least only ever dabbled in it. And finally, Will Smith himself. Will exposed himself in his 2021 memoir where he revealed his struggles with anger in the past and how he had thought about taking someone's life in the past. In this memoir, he revealed dark secrets from his past, like that his father used to hit his mother, and when he was younger he was ashamed that he never stepped in to stop him. Apparently many years later his father had cancer and was declining rapidly. He was in a wheelchair at the time and was not able to care for himself, so Will thought about taking his father's life to avenge all the horrible things that he did to his mother. Thankfully, Will did not go through with it and took the high road with his father. Will seemed to reference this in his Oscar speech, where he said that a higher power called on him, quote, to love people and to protect people and to be a river to my people.
Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Forced to Marry Will, with Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith's marriage being the top subject when it comes to scandals over the last year. It's left us all wondering when Jada might just stop, grow up, and stop making jabs at her husband in an attempt to embarrass him any further. When the actress's reaction after the Oscar ceremony in 2022 was to condemn her husband for slapping Chris Rock, the incident led the press to review previously published content around the couple. And a video then re-emerged from 2018, where in it, Jada could be seen stating that she never wanted to get married and she was forced to marry Will because she was pregnant. The video would actually turn out to be an episode from her Red Table Talk podcast, which featured her, Will, their daughter Willow, and Jada's mother. In the interview, Jada would say she was under so much pressure and she didn't know what to do, but her mother forced her to marry Will. Number 9. Substance use. Back in 2021, Jada would candidly detail her past issues with substances and alcohol, where she would say that she was a walking miracle after kicking her addictions. During her Red Table Talk, Jada would open up about how she used to combine wine with other forms of substances when she developed a tolerance to solely drinking. She would then go on to say, I wasn't doing things that I thought were addictive, but I would do those 3 together. That was my cocktail. Your threshold becomes so high that what it takes for you to get to the place you need to get to, it will take me 2 bottles to get to, okay? If I do substances with alcohol at the same time, I get there faster and I can keep the feeling going. Jada then said she went cold turkey one day after she had a health scare on the set of the 1996 The Nutty Professor, as she passed out on set and made a total fool of herself. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Number 8. Comments about the Oscars. Just when the confrontation that happened between Will Smith and Chris Rock had become one of the most discussed topics around the world, a lot of people had their say on the comedian's joke and the actor's decision to respond by slapping the comedian. And if things couldn't get any better, Jada Pinkett Smith then broke her silence on the issue when she chose to write a message on her social media account saying, "This is a season for healing and I'm here for it." Though Jada didn't say anything during the controversial moment, she did, however, make sure she was in the center of it going forward, as she claimed that she hoped Will and Chris could eventually heal and reconcile one day, and that she never forced her husband to slap Chris. Her and Will were moving forward and were going to focus on their lives. But it all just seemed a little too sus, and she shouldn't have said anything, and she should have just more supported her husband through this hard time. Number 7. Dealing with Tupac. Even decades after his passing, people still have questions about what his relationship was with Jada Pinkett Smith, especially since Jada once said, "When we first met, I was a dealer. That's how we started." The actor then went on to say that something very bad made her leave that life behind. But while she was getting out, she was getting further involved with Tupac, and her relationship turned into a survival moment, as she even once had to bail out the rapper for $100,000. Their friendship still raises eyebrows today, especially since Will Smith admitted to being jealous of the late rapper, as in his mind he was tortured by their connection because Jada loved Pac, and this rendered him to the point he couldn't even be friends with Pac when he was still alive. Number 6. The Matrix controversy. The Matrix franchise is well known for revolutionizing the cinema world with its stunning visuals and graphics. From the very release of the first movie, The Matrix made an everlasting impact on the souls of the audience, with the franchise being represented well by Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss. Did you know that the hit duo actually could have been represented by celebrity couple Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith? But since Will Smith refused to play the hit character of Neo in the blockbuster franchise, as the actor was in no mood to shoot another Alien movie after Independence Day, Jada Pinkett Smith would fail to be selected for the role, and she blames it on Will, as she didn't
didn't have any chemistry with Reeves, which resulted in her to lose the role. So it goes on to show that she just has trouble connecting with other people on set when they aren't her friend or family members. The actress did, however, go on to grab a role in the franchise after she lied about not being pregnant. Number 5. Her love for Tupac. Jada Pinkett Smith and Tupac both met at Baltimore School of Arts in Maryland in the late 1980s, and they became close friends. And in the past, Jada has tried to say that the two weren't involved romantically, but we all know that's a lie. And almost a month after Will Smith and Chris Rock's altercation, an interview of Jada and Tupac's friend started to resurface on the internet. And in the interview, Tupac's friend would state that Tupac had a lot of love and lots of respect for Jada. However, they then went on to claim that there was this time where he witnessed Tupac become extremely upset by something Jada said to him. When they went on to say, the second time I have probably heard him talk about her is when he went to LA. He was very upset, you know what I mean? Pac came out of the room and was like, Jada had gone contact me and tell me don't do nothing with Will Smith. Over the years, it seems like Jada has never been shy to share her love that she had for Tupac. As for what would have been his 50th birthday party, she went on to share a never before seen poem that he gave her. And it's clear at the end of the day she still loves him, and that's probably why she causes Will so much problems. Number 4. Too full of herself. When the Los Angeles Times caught up with Hubert to ask her to clarify her criticism of Jada, Hubert would claim that Jada and her husband clearly needed to get over themselves when she said, "You ain't all that, you're not kings and queens, you're not royalty, you're simply entertainers." But that's clearly not how the Smiths see it. Vivica A. Fox once even fought back tears as she spoke about Jada Pinkett Smith's remarks about her husband smacking Will Smith at the Academy Awards in 2022, when the actress said on an episode of Wendy Williams' show that Jada took no accountability for her role in the incident on her Red Table Talk. Fox then went on to explain she believes Jada played a part in the incident when she said, "Will was defending her honor. That's the reason he walked on the stage and slapped, because he felt like his wife had been offended." She then went on to note that because Jada took no accountability, it made her seem so self-righteous and full of herself. Number 3. Scientology school. At one point in time, Jada Pinkett Smith forced her husband to help her open a school in one of their homes called the New Village Leadership Academy. With the school shutting down just a couple of years after being open, it would only shut down as people started to point out that the school was really revolved around the controversial Scientology religion. With the Smiths denying that the allegations that the school was in fact a Scientology school, employees who were employed within the school have stated that the curriculum did in fact revolve around Scientology technology, methodology that Scientology utilizes. It also didn't help that the school's staff included plenty of Scientologists, as the former director of learning, director of qualifications, artistic director, and the 2009 school administrators were all confirmed to be Scientologists. Number 2. The affair. It seems like just after the whole world was done talking about Jada's affair with her son's friend August Alsina, it would be brought out again after new details were released to the public earlier this month. As after August watched Chris Rock's Netflix special, he told the Post he thought it was not only funny, but it was also truthful. And that was the best part for him. So when Rock finally went public about his thoughts about being slapped by Will Smith at the 2022 Oscars in his Netflix comedy special Selective Outrage, he would speculate that Smith only smacked him not over his joke about Jada's baldness, but because he was unleashing built-up anger he had over his wife's affair. A source would then confirm that August was happy to see Chris Rock advocating the truth, as everyone has been against him since the whole affair was exposed. And considering Jada downplayed their relationship with her son's friend for 4 years, Will was led to believe that nothing was going on until she embarrassed him on the Red Table Talk, and since Hollywood has been wondering what kind of woman she exactly is, because she's not normal, that's for sure. And coming in number 1 today, we have Not in Demand. After a promising breakout performance as Maureen in the 1997 film Scream 2, Jada's career looked to be heading in the right direction, but then it was stalled in the following years to come after she gained a role in the film Woo. Variety described it as being an unfunny comedy that brought out the worst in just about everybody involved in the film. In years to come, Jada was only able to land supporting roles, but her record with critics has been spotty at best. Despite her best efforts, studios have not been keen on casting her as a leading lady, and the only successful role she's been able to gain a leading role is for her voice work as Gloria on the animated film franchise Madagascar. She even did a really bad job playing Fish Mooney in Fox's DC BBC crime drama, Gotham. Starting off our list today in the number 10 spot, we have toxic. Toxic femininity is usually less obvious than when you compare it to toxic masculinity, because much of it is masked by the display of insincere emotions, with Jada showing a history of passive aggression, backstabbing, display of jealousy, defaming other men or women, and using people to take an unfair advantage. She has been applauded by her bad behavior, as people have labeled her to be empowering. Throughout her marriage, Jada has claimed that she was forced to get married and that she was crying when she had to walk down the aisle at 3 months pregnant with her first child. Within her relationships, the toxic femininity translates to emotional, verbal, and psychological abuse. Her overall behavior has even caused generational damage, and she needs to work on herself and heal her life so her children can understand what a healthy relationship is. Number 9. Clash with Snoop Dogg. In the wake of Kobe's passing in 2020, Jada Pinkett Smith wasn't afraid to call out Snoop Dogg over his comments towards Gayle King, and in the process she started a difficult conversation about misogyny after King mentioned a woman accused Kobe of unwanted advancements. Snoop then posted a video on his Instagram where he talked about the issues, and in it he insulted King's appearance before telling her, "Back off, B, before we come get you." As a result, Jada brought the rapper on her Red Table talk show to try to clear the air, where she would say, "When you first came out and said what you said, you know, in regards to Gayle, my heart dropped." Jada then explained to her old friend that when he said what he said, she felt hurt on behalf of all women. Snoop did end up apologizing to King after Jada embarrassed him on her show by taking to his Instagram to say, "When you're wrong, you gotta fix it. I was raised way better than that, so I would like to apologize to you publicly for the language that I use, calling you out of your name and just being disrespectful." But did Jada really have to embarrass him? Because this could have just been a private conversation between friends. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming at number 8, we have poor communication. During an episode of the Red Table Talk back in 2018, Will revealed that he had some pretty poor communication with Jada when they got into arguments, as she just likes to raise her voice and curse him out instead of speaking about their issues like normal people. Will then brought up a significant moment that launched their communication when he said that they were playing Pictionary with 20 other people, and this included Will's son Trey from his previous marriage. Will had his son on his lap, and at the time he was only 1 or 2 years old, and Jada cursed him out in front of everyone by saying, "Will, would you shut the F up?" It got so bad that Will even had to bring her into another room to explain to Jada that because of his upbringing, he didn't wish to be in a relationship that involved the use of profanities and violent language. Number 7, the controversial podcast. When it comes to the Red Table Talk, it's definitely a one-of-a-kind talk show that features a one-of-a-kind family. While the show was created with good intentions, as the family just wanted to create a safe space where they could talk about some pretty weird topics, the conversations have become real, raw, unfiltered conversations, where not only the family has exposed their darkest secrets, but other celebrities as well. And while the show has gone on to gain quite an impressive fan base, the in-depth conversations have become pretty controversial when it comes to the hot-button issues that are discussed, and it has hurt Jada's career to the point she can't even get casted in anything, and she really hasn't worked on anything since her role in the Scream franchise. Number 6, the open marriage. The Smiths have received a lot of scrutiny over their marriage, especially since Jada addressed the rumors surrounding it in 2009 when she told Atlanta's Q100, "I've heard all the things. Their marriage is not real. He's gay, she's gay. They swing." The actor then dismissed the idea that they had anything to prove. Then in an interview later with US Weekly, she would add on to her claims by adding that people are going to think whatever they wanted, and it was too hard to be in a pretend marriage. In recent years, however, they have admitted that they have an unconventional approach to their marriage, as when it comes to their relationships, they have chosen monogamy. On top of that, they've given each other trust and freedom with the belief that everybody has to find their own way, and they do this so their marriage just doesn't feel like a prison. But honestly, it just sounds like this was all Jada's choosing. Number 5, can't take a joke. The biggest talking point from the Oscars in 2022 was the fact that Will Smith took to the stage to smack Chris Rock after he made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's appearance. When Rock was presenting the award
award for Best Documentary, he would say, "Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see you." Well, everyone in the crowd went on to laugh, including her husband Will. When Jada was seen rolling her eyes and scrutinizing her husband for laughing at the joke, that hits hard to home as she has been struggling with alopecia. As soon as Will seen her clasping her hands together and giving Rock and him a disappointed sideways look, Will would be forced to take the stage to defend his wife's name and image, so he wouldn't have to go home and hear, "Tupac would have never done that to me, so why did you?" But instead she forced him to embarrass himself and end his career, and that's why Hollywood just can't get over it. Chris is known to roast people. You could have just simply roasted him back. Number 4, stole Will away from his ex-wife. So before Will and Jada actually got married, Will Smith was in a previous relationship with Sherry Fletcher. And apparently before he and his ex-wife split, Jada actually started dating him. She even admitted to being a homewrecker when she said, "Because I did not understand marriage, I did not understand divorce. I probably should have fallen back," but she obviously didn't fall back as she just kept making advancements. During the process, she then became pretty standoffish when it came to his ex-wife over time, and at one point, Will even had to put her in her place over the issue, after she had an argument with Fletcher over the phone. Will was not happy with Jada, and Jada would later say his take was that "this is my son Trey's mother, and that's not your place," but Jada did make sure she wanted to put Fletcher in her place by making a point that she was the one and Fletcher was not. Number 3, treated like a peasant. Did you know that Will Smith once took 3 years to plan a super extravagant birthday party for Jada's 40th birthday? And instead of appreciating the thought and the gesture that he took, she was less than pleased about her husband's gift. When Will was super happy about all the hard work he put in trying to make it the best gift for Jada, she was underwhelmed and lashed out at Will to the point it made him hit a low point in his life. Will went to great lengths when he planned Jada's birthday, and he even hired an orchestra and a documentary team to trace Jada's family roots. While most people would appreciate the gesture, Jada would claim that the whole thing was actually just a party that showed off Will's ego. And while Will continued to go on to treat his wife like a queen that night, she just went on to show him that he was just a peasant. That's just really sad. Number 2, hates women. Jada's never been afraid to be vocal, especially when it comes to her Red Table talk show. In one episode, the world saw Jada note that she found it difficult to be interested in having relationships with white people, when she addressed that she was biased when it came to white women, especially if they had blonde hair, mostly because of bullying she was subjected to in school. She then went on to say, "I have to admit, I'm guilty to that to a certain degree because I do have my own biases, specifically to blonde women. Blonde hair on white women triggers me. I've had to catch myself." She then went on to address that she realized her own hypocrisy as she stated that her past didn't give her the right to put all blonde women in the same category, but she was still going to continue doing it anyways. And coming in number 1 today, we have disrespectful. So when a clip resurfaced, it would show Jada Pinkett Smith's underwhelmed reaction to a surprise birthday party Will Smith planned for 3 years, and the video would have the internet divided. When Jada's 37th birthday was over, Will took it upon himself to throw an extravagant birthday for her 40th birthday party. But when that date finally hit, things didn't go as well as Will was expecting things to go. In fact, her reaction was not ideal, and it made Will hit a low point in his life. Jada then ripped Will apart later on her Red Table talk show when she told the actor she was going through a midlife crisis, and she thought his gesture was just a ridiculous display of his ego. She felt like the party just wasn't for her. Everyone felt like Jada's response was rude and disrespectful as he treated her like a queen, and she really just ended up treating him like a peasant. Coming in at number 10, we have the affair. The world was completely shocked when R&B singer August Alsina came forward to admit that he has had an affair with Jada Pinkett Smith in 2015. What was even more shocking is that when August sat down with The Breakfast Club for an interview with Angela Yee, he would say, "I actually sat down with Will and had a conversation due to the transformation from their marriage to life partnership. He gave me his blessing." August then went on to insist that he hasn't done anything to be ashamed of and that he loved the Smiths, before saying, "I totally gave myself to that relationship for years of my life, and I truly, really deeply love and have a ton of love for her. I devoted myself to it." Then many people started to claim that Jada has taken advantage of August since he was in a vulnerable time in his life, as the singer was only 22 and he was struggling with his health due to an autoimmune
autoimmune condition that left him hospitalized on multiple occasions. One inside source would even also reveal to Page 6 that when Jada said she was mentoring August through it all, she was only really destroying him. Number 9. The forced open marriage. The Smiths have received a lot of scrutiny when it comes to their marriage, especially in 2009. Jada Pinkett Smith went on to address all the rumors that surrounded it. In an interview with Atlanta Q100, Jada would say, "I've heard all the things from their marriage is not real. He's gay, she's gay, they swing." She then went on to prove that the couple has nothing to prove when it comes to the relationship, and she also went on to tell HuffPost in 2013 that she and Will had no claim over each other's lives, and she also told Will that he could do whatever he wanted as long as he was able to look at himself in the mirror and be okay. In recent years, the pair has still continued to admit that they like to take an unconventional approach when it comes to their marriage. But for the most part, it seems like this is Jada's doing, as she wants to mess around with other people, and Will doesn't want to lose her, so he sits back and lets his marriage crumble in the process. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming in at number 8, we have forced into a cult. Although Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith have insisted they aren't Scientologists, it's kind of hard to believe anything they say when it comes to not being involved with the controversial religion for years. As a former ex-Scientologist member, Lee once told the Daily Beast back in 2017, "I know Jada's in. She's been in Scientology a long time. I never saw Will there, but I saw Jada at the Celebrity Center." Lee then went on to point out that Jada even forced her husband Will to allow her to open a school in one of their homes that was based on Scientology, and she even forced her own kids to go to that school before it shut down. With Jada opening the New Village Leadership Academy in 2008, the school only lasted about 5 years before it closed down. One of the academy's teaching staff even confirmed that they used L. Ron Hubbard's books and Scientology-affiliated study technology, and there's posters of him all around the school as well. Later, Lee even appeared on the Red Table Talk alongside Jada in 2018, where Jada said, "You're gonna learn all the religions, and then you gotta decide which one you want to practice. I always took the position I'm here at the Scientology Center to learn what I want to learn, and I had no interest in being a Scientologist." Number 7. Terrible overacting. I think we can all agree Gotham was a good show, but when they casted Jada as Fish Mooney, it was pretty annoying to watch her destroy the character. The only time she was actually ever tolerable on scene was when she stayed quiet most of the time. The way she just kept slipping into this British accent to "look at me, I'm bad" was just too cheesy and unbearable to listen to. Her acting was too over the top and camp, and any scenes with her in the show could have simply been cut out and the show still would have made sense, because the Batman universe technically doesn't necessarily need her character. Number 6. The Oscars. Although the 94th Academy Award should have been a memorable moment for Will Smith, he ended up making Oscar history for all the wrong reasons. Instead of the media talking about his talent and incredible win, Will sparked major controversy after he took to the stage to slap Chris Rock over the joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's balding head, with Chris comparing Jada to G.I. Jane due to her shaved head. While Will first went on to laugh at the joke, when his wife rolled her eyes and gave him hell for it, he took matters into his own hands and defended his wife like she wanted. Now, Jada has been open about her struggles with alopecia, to the point that she told her followers on Instagram in a video early in 2022 that all she could do is laugh when it came to the fact that she had a bald head. So the joke definitely came across a little too close to home, especially since in the past he already threw shots at the actress during the 2016 Oscars. Although she did end up saying that she didn't make him do it, she sure did have the power to stop him from leaving his seat in the first place. Number 5. Scientology affiliation. Reports have been stating for years now that Jada Pinkett Smith has had strong ties to the Church of Scientology. Although she has never publicly subscribed to the belief system, many sources have claimed that not only did she once practice Scientology, but she was also heavily involved in it. The information would come to light after a former Scientologist told the Daily Mail that not only was Jada a member, but she was also a recruiter who was paid to lure people into the church. The source also went on to say Jada was always around the Celebrity Center, doing things her own way with Kelly Preston in the president's office. Tony Ortega, who has extensively covered celebrity involvement in Scientology, also said on his blog, The Underground Bunker, "We have known for years that the dedicated Scientology in the family was Jada Smith." And Jada's alleged connections to Scientology did not stop there. In fact, they only appeared to get stronger over time, as she also went on to open a private school for the church in one of her homes. Number 4. The forced marriage. Not only has Jada gone on to roast Will Smith for his actions, but she's also shared in an episode on the Red Table Talk in 2018 that she cried while walking down the aisle on her wedding day because she never wanted to be married. In the video, Jada could be seen talking about her wedding day with Will Smith, and in it, she confessed that she did not want to be married, and she only ended up doing it because her mother forced her to get married because she got pregnant with Jaden while the two were still dating. The actress then went on to say, it's almost as if Gammy was like, you're going to have to get married, so let's talk about the wedding. I was under so much pressure, you know, being a young actress, and I was like pregnant. I was just like, I didn't know what to do, but I just knew. I was like, I never wanted to be married. She then went on to describe how horrible her wedding actually was, but how can you sit here and tell a man that you never wanted to get married to him and that your mom made you do it, as you control your own actions by this time in your life, not your mother. Number 3, Chris Rock. Before everything happened at the 2022 Oscars, Will and Jada Smith actually had history with Chris Rock, as Jada had been in a full-out feud with the comedian since the 90s, as their beef extends all the way back to 1997, when he took aim at Jada before she got married to Will on his late-night show called The Chris Rock Show. Rock would then begin his roast of Jada when he said, you know, at the Million Woman March, there were moving speeches from people like Maxine Waters, Winnie Mandela, and here are some inspirational words from the lovely Jada Pinkett. Chris then went on to cut a clip of Jada at the march where she says, I'm here today because this is an act of power, woman, okay? She then whittled down a joke where she yelled the lyrics of The Roof is on Fire instead of her speech. He then picked on her again at the 2016 Oscars over her activism. Chris Rock knew something was up with her from the beginning, and that's why a lot of people didn't want to work with her, because she's controversial even when she's trying to do something good. Number 2, she's salty. In an episode on the Red Table Talk, Jada would bring up how she's gotten hostile towards other women who have been disrespectful to her about Will Smith in their marriage. When Willow asked her mother about how she felt about the groupies around her dad, Jada would respond by saying, I really didn't. I know I was deterrent. Later on in an interview, she also went on to note that there was only like 1 or 2 times where I might have gotten a little hostile, where I felt like people stepped over a boundary and they were disrespectful. I know who I am, and more importantly, he knows who I am, right? It's clear Jada doesn't like other women trying to talk to Will, but yet she can have an affair on her husband and then go on to justify her actions over that said affair. Makes sense. And coming at number 1 today, we have Margot Robbie. Although Jada and Will have been married since 1997, it's clear she doesn't think her marriage is really strong, as she believes Margot Robbie could sweep in at any moment and steal her husband. Even though the couple is in an open marriage, Jada has defended her husband's public comments and appreciation for Margot in 2015, but those said comments have quickly become forgotten, as Jada once made a comment about how she harbors a racial bias towards white women with blonde hair, as they just seem to trigger her. Although she tried to claim that this was because she was bullied by blonde girls in school, it's clear that her comment was an indirect reference to her hostility towards Margot, as apparently Will acts like he's an unmarried man when he's around her. Now it's clear Margot and Will both have chemistry, just watch the movies they're in together, and they're definitely a couple people want to see get together, and this scares Jada to the point she won't stop causing trouble for Will. Starting off our list today in the number 10 spot, we have August Alsina. Social media users have not been going easy on Jada Pinkett Smith since she came clean about her relationship with August Alsina, and since she has been accused of taking advantage of August while he was in his most vulnerable state. It's clear that August never meant anything to Jada, as once she didn't need him anymore, she just tossed him away like he was trash. One person who definitely believes in this notion is Charlemagne, as he tore into Jada during a discussion about her revelation on The Breakfast Club, where he would state that he believes Jada should have used better judgment considering Alsina's age and mental state, when he said August Alsina, that young man came to her broken, in need of healing, and her response is that I wanted to feel good. I haven't felt good in a long time, so you slept with him. Never mind what that young man is feeling, you know? You just gotta get yours. And that's just toxic behavior, and you kinda have to agree with that. Number 9, sneak diss Margot Robbie. So we all know Jada and Will have this weird marriage, however, with saying that it seems like only Jada can have other relationships with men, as she gets hostile towards any other female who even gets close to her husband. Despite her saying that she wants Will to date other women and explore, like she has, it's clear if another woman even comes close to her husband, she secretly disses them and scrutinizes her husband for his unfaithfulness. Although the pair has had an unbreakable amicable bond when Margot Robbie came into the picture, Will and her started to make headlines for having this secret relationship. Jada soon became a little hostile and headed to her Red Table talk show to call out the actor. On the show, she would note that she harbors a racial bias when it comes to white women with blonde hair. While the actor tried to blame it on the fact that she was bullied by girls like this in her school, it was clear that she was making an indirect reference to her hostility towards Margot Robbie because she was scared she was going to steal her husband. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming in at the number 8 spot, we have not good at solving problems. Jada once admitted that she was not as smart as she makes herself seem, as she's not exactly acing her test on problem solving. Her kids and husband have even had to teach her and make her realize that her life experiences can help her when it comes to solving certain problems. In an interview with E!, Jada would even admit to her solving problems when she said, "What I learned about myself is when I was younger, I was not a good problem solver, meaning I had a difficult time with dealing with my problems in life. But today I have my wisdom, my heart, and my conscience as the only tools to overcome life's inevitable obstacles. I have become a good problem solver with those tools, and I am damn proud." But imagine your husband and kids having to teach you about having to solve problems better because your approach at life was driving them nuts. Number 7, the controversial photo. Back when Willow Smith was only 13 years old, a controversial photo of Willow began to spread across social media as she was shown lying on a bed next to then 20-year-old actor and photographer Moses Arias. While she was shirtless, many people then started to voice their concern about the photo as they thought it was wildly inappropriate, especially considering Willow was very much underage and hanging out with someone who wasn't. Children's services and then the police got involved, and Jada would then come to her daughter's defense by supporting the photo after she said that TMZ was blowing the photo way out of proportion. Jada would then go on to say, "There's nothing sexual about that picture or the situation. You guys are projecting your trash onto it and you're acting like cover pedophiles. That's not cool." To make matters even worse, there were also people who started to agree with Jada. However, this whole situation was just really creepy, you have to admit that. Number 6, fat shames. Just after the infamous Oscar slap that took place, fans started to deep dive the internet and they started to dig up whatever they could find in regards to Will Smith's and Jada Pinkett Smith's relationship. When Will Smith was set to star alongside Margot Robbie in the 2015 film Focus, let's be honest, Margot Robbie can outshine just about anyone, not just Will Smith, as the actor is one of the best actors in this generation. When Margot made her first encounter alongside Will, it apparently wasn't the greatest experience, because when Jada found out about the casting choice, she embarrassed her husband by fat shaming him and urged him to get into shape because she didn't want him to embarrass her. When he revealed a bit of information while promoting the film, he would say, "When Margot got hired for the gig, Jada saw Margot was young and hot and in shape and said, 'Boy, don't embarrass me, get in shape now.' She's like, 'Don't let that girl smash you on screen.'" But Will has always been in good shape, and the fact she doesn't think her husband is an absolute snack is a complete sin. Number 5, took herself to the Red Table. In the aftermath of August Alsina's bombshell interview, Jada would admit that there was some healing that needed to take place, and she tweeted that she would be the subject of her next Red Table talk. She would then force Will to also make an appearance on the episode to share his side of the story. And he would just take everything in as she lied about being temporarily separated from Will when she had her affair with August. The couple then went on to reveal that they also reunited after August was out of the picture because Will and Jada realized they just couldn't stay away from each other. With the clip going viral quickly, Jada just kept repeating the word entanglement rather than using the word affair, and she quickly became an online target for jokes, as did a picture that supposedly showed Will in tears because this show embarrassed him to a T. Number 4, bad hygiene. Because Jada Pinkett Smith loves to use natural products, especially when it comes to her toothpaste, body wash, lotion, and deodorant, she has a bit of a problem when it comes to finding a deodorant and other things that help her smell pleasant. This even got to the point that Hey Humans heard about Jada's problems, that
They even sent her formulations of their products so she could try them out. As before, she was having such a hard time finding natural deodorant that her kids kept urging her to use lemon under her armpits so they wouldn't smell her. She would even keep telling them that's not enough odor protection, so instead she just didn't use anything and it would drive everyone in her family nuts. Also, considering that the roles she's usually casted in cause her to be pretty close to people while doing high impact activity, people on screen with her constantly have to hold their breath or imagine they were in a subway, which just isn't a good look if you think about it. Number 3, bad parenting. So before I get into the bad parenting aspect, I think it's worth mentioning that Will and Jada's kids once freaked out Sony executives to the point they emailed Will about the issues and he just responded by saying everyone just disses his kids. However, Sony isn't the only ones to question Jada's and Will's parenting, as when Willow was pictured in bed with a 20-year-old man in 2014, it would spark a police investigation. Radar Online would then post an article where they would state the Los Angeles Department of Children and Family Services were looking into the snap of Willow, who was 13 at the time, that was posted online and then later deleted. Will and Jada were extremely cooperative with officials, but they weren't so happy that their parenting skills were under scrutiny. Jada would then break her silence about the issues and would say that there was nothing wrong with the picture or the situation. Number 2, shames people about their money. Back in 2017, in her Showtime comedy special, She's Ready From Hood to Hollywood, Tiffany Haddish would open up about how she used to carry around fake designer handbags, and how her Girl Trip co-star Jada Pinkett Smith made fun of her for it after she experienced a wardrobe malfunction involving one. When Tiffany was hanging out with Jada and Queen Latifah, they were walking around and out of nowhere, the Michael Kors lock on her purse melted off and it hit the ground. Jada then proceeded to ask the comedian, Tiffany, what kind of bag is that? And Tiffany told her it was a Martin Luther King bag and it was free at last. We breaking chains in this thing, girl. That's what type of bag this is. Jada then went on to make fun of Tiffany by saying, Tiffany, you cannot be walking around here with knockoff bags anymore. You have to wear designer stuff. When this movie comes out, you're gonna be considered an A-list actress and you cannot be walking around here with fake stuff. Tiffany then put Jada in her place by saying, well, until I can afford the real thing, I'm gonna be rocking the fake things, and I have no problem with that, Jada. And coming in number 1 today, we have jumps into drama. When Jordyn Woods was making headlines for destroying Khloe Kardashian's relationship after it was revealed that she and Tristan Thompson hooked up at a party, Jada jumped right onto the chance to bring her on the show to hear her story. In the episode, Jordyn would then break her silence and she denied all the gossip and claims that things were actually blown out of proportion. In the episode, Jordyn would tell Jada that she knew she would have gone home after the party, but what people were saying about her giving the NBA player a lap dance and making out with him wasn't true, and she did not once go into a bedroom or a bathroom, as they were just in plain sight. With the interview igniting a Twitter firestorm just like Jada wanted, it would cause Khloe to claim that her former family friend was lying. It seems like whenever something big happens, Jada jumps to put herself through the mix. It's almost like she's trying to be Jeffree Star.